Have you ever wondered why some of the brightest minds seem to walk alone? Even in a crowded room, the world admires intelligence, yet it fears it, resents it, and often isolates it. Smart people, the ones who see life with clarity, who dissect motives and read between invisible lines, often find themselves in a lonely orbit. Not because they are antisocial, not because they lack empathy, but because the truth they carry is heavier than most can bear. Society is comfortable with conformity. It fears insight, it hates exposure, and it cannot tolerate someone who sees the cracks beneath its shiny facade. To stay sane, to preserve their energy, the truly intelligent often retreat. Today, we dive into the brutal realities of the mind, why brilliance often walks alone. Smart people perceive the world differently. They notice the smallest inconsistencies, the subtle shifts in tone, the fleeting expressions that others barely register. While most are content to skim the surface of life, they dive into its depths, analyzing behaviors, intentions, and hidden meanings. This heightened perception is both a blessing and a burden. It allows them to understand situations with clarity, to anticipate consequences before they unfold, and to navigate the complexities of human interaction with a precision that most cannot achieve. Yet, this clarity comes with a cost. The more they see, the more they feel the weight of reality that others choose to ignore or deny. In social interactions, this perception can feel isolating. Smart people detect when someone is being insincere, when words are a mask for hidden agendas, or when emotions are performed rather than genuine. While others might smile and nod, accepting the surface level of conversation, they read between the lines, deciphering motives that remain invisible to the casual observer. They understand that flattery is often manipulation, compliments sometimes serve as traps, and friendliness can disguise envy or competition. In a world that thrives on pretense and superficial connections, this awareness sets them apart, creating a subtle yet constant tension between them and the people around them. This acute perception also extends to patterns in human behavior. They recognize repetition, predict reactions, and notice the subtle ways people betray themselves without realizing it. Where most see randomness, they see cause and effect, strategy and consequence. This ability to see the underlying mechanisms of human interaction makes them cautious, reserved, and selective in their associations. They cannot afford to waste energy on relationships that are shallow, manipulative, or draining because every interaction carries an emotional and psychological cost. Unlike many, they do not engage blindly. They analyze, evaluate, and decide carefully whom to trust. The burden of seeing so much truth can be overwhelming. Ordinary conversations that others take for granted become complex calculations. Casual remarks might reveal insecurity or malice. Smiles might hide bitterness or contempt. They often find themselves navigating a minefield of motives, constantly assessing who is genuine and who is not. This mental vigilance creates a distance, not from lack of empathy, but from self-preservation. The more they understand the darker aspects of human nature, the more they protect themselves from being manipulated, misled, or emotionally exploited. This perception shapes their internal world as well. While others may find comfort in ignorance or the simplicity of assumption, intelligent individuals struggle with the weight of insight. They understand the fragility of trust, the transient nature of loyalty, and the tendency of people to act in self-interest. This awareness can lead to a sense of isolation, because while they see the world clearly, most people live in illusions, unaware of the subtle currents that govern behavior. Relationships, friendships, and even casual interactions become exercises in discernment rather than spontaneity, further deepening their sense of solitude. Yet, this perception also grants them power. By understanding human nature so intimately, they gain the ability to navigate complex social situations, to anticipate conflict, and to respond strategically. They see the truth others avoid, and in doing so, they are never blind to reality. But this power comes at the price of loneliness, because true understanding is often incompatible with the collective comfort of the crowd. They remain vigilant, selective, and reserved, not out of arrogance, but out of necessity. The world is full of facades, and only those who see through them can truly exist without being consumed by them. Smart people are acutely aware of the invisible currency of life, energy. Every interaction, every conversation, every connection carries a cost that most people never recognize. While many drift through social situations with ease, absorbing and giving without thought, intelligent minds measure the emotional and psychological toll of every encounter. They understand that energy is finite, and once it is spent on the wrong people or in the wrong places, it cannot be reclaimed. This is why solitude becomes not a symptom of loneliness, but a conscious strategic choice, a shield against the slow erosion of vitality. Interacting with people is not merely a casual act for them. It is an engagement that requires evaluation, processing, and judgment. Conversations with superficial individuals, manipulative personalities, or emotionally needy people are taxing in ways that are often invisible to the unobservant. While the average person might shrug off an exhausting exchange, a sharp mind feels it acutely. Words, gestures, and unspoken intentions are analyzed, decoded, and stored, leaving an imprint on the psyche. Each social engagement is a transaction where the balance of giving and taking is carefully considered. If the exchange is uneven, if the energy spent outweighs the energy received, it leaves a subtle fatigue, a quiet depletion that accumulates over time. This constant awareness of emotional expenditure makes intelligent individuals highly selective. They do not waste time on those who drain them mentally or emotionally. They avoid people who are manipulative, jealous, or insincere, not out of disdain, but out of a deep understanding of the consequences. Being around the wrong kind of people is not just tiring, it is corrosive. It disrupts focus, clouds judgment, and introduces unnecessary stress into their lives. In a sense, staying alone becomes an act of self-preservation, a way to protect their mental clarity and maintain emotional stability. Moreover, smart people instinctively understand the subtle dynamics of power and influence in human interaction. They sense when someone seeks to dominate, manipulate, or extract advantage. They recognize envy, subtle aggression, and hidden agendas that go unnoticed by the majority. Engaging with such individuals is not only draining, but potentially dangerous to their peace of mind. The ability to detect these threats comes with heightened caution, leading them to retreat from unnecessary socialization. Solitude, then, is not a void but a protective space, a mental fortress where they can recharge, reflect, and remain untainted by the emotional turbulence of the world. This awareness also affects their inner life. While others may fill their days with social noise, distractions, and casual companionship, intelligent individuals value depth and authenticity. They crave interactions that are meaningful, enriching, and mutually respectful. Anything less feels like an emotional tax they cannot afford to pay. The result is a natural gravitation toward solitude. Being alone allows them to conserve energy, think deeply, and cultivate inner resources without the constant drain of external demands. In solitude, they are not lonely. They are empowered, focused, and clear-minded. Yet this need for energy preservation is often misunderstood. Outsiders may see them as aloof, cold, or disconnected, failing to recognize that their withdrawal is deliberate and strategic. They are not avoiding humanity, they are avoiding emotional bankruptcy. They understand the invisible cost of compromise, of giving too much to the wrong people, and they refuse to deplete themselves for the sake of superficial connection. Their aloneness is a testament to their insight, discipline, and respect for the finite nature of human energy. Ultimately, for intelligent minds, solitude is a sanctuary. It is a space where they can exist on their terms, engage with the world selectively, and remain unexploited by the subtle drains of human interaction. In preserving their energy, they preserve themselves, maintaining the clarity, focus, and resilience that define their brilliance. In a world designed to tire, confuse, and manipulate, the smartest people survive by walking alone, guarding their most precious resource, their mind and soul. Smart people often live in a reality that others cannot comprehend. Their thoughts move faster, their observations dig deeper, and their emotions are experienced with an intensity that can be difficult for ordinary minds to follow. They notice patterns in behavior, contradictions in speech, and hidden motives that go unnoticed by most. This depth of perception, while empowering, creates an invisible barrier between them and the majority of people. It is not that they are incapable of connection, Rather, their inner world is so complex, so finely tuned to nuance and meaning, that most social interactions feel shallow, unsatisfying, or even exhausting. Because of this heightened awareness, they are frequently misunderstood. Humor that relies on subtlety or irony often goes over the heads of others. Observations that reveal uncomfortable truths about society, human nature, or personal motives are met with defensiveness, dismissal, or even hostility. Their silence can be misinterpreted as arrogance or disinterest, when in reality, it is the result of discernment and careful thought. In a world that values noise over depth, brevity over insight, and consensus over truth, their intellect isolates them. They perceive a reality that is far richer, far more intricate than what is socially accepted, and this divergence naturally sets them apart. Relationships, whether casual or intimate, present unique challenges. While most people seek companionship, emotional validation, or comfort in shared experiences, intelligent minds require resonance, an alignment of thought, understanding, and perspective that is rare. They do not settle for surface-level interaction because it is unsatisfying and ultimately draining. Friendship becomes a delicate calculus. The potential for genuine connection weighs against the cost of misalignment or misunderstanding. Many people cannot sustain the level of authenticity, intellectual engagement, or emotional honesty that smart individuals unconsciously demand. As a result, they withdraw, not because they reject human connection, but because meaningful resonance is scarce. This misunderstood depth also shapes their inner life profoundly. They experience the world with heightened sensitivity, absorbing subtleties that others overlook. Small gestures, fleeting expressions, and half-spoken words carry meaning and emotional weight that most would ignore. They feel more, notice more, and remember more, which can make ordinary social settings overwhelming. Casual banter may seem trivial, repetitive conversations may feel burdensome, and the constant need to decode intentions and behaviors becomes mentally taxing. Their solitude, therefore, is not mere avoidance, but a necessary retreat, a space where they can process, reflect, and preserve their mental clarity. Being misunderstood is a heavy burden. Intelligent people constantly navigate a world where they are misread, undervalued, or even feared. Their insights, instead of being celebrated, are often dismissed as overthinking. Their ability to perceive hidden motives may evoke suspicion, resentment, or envy. The loneliness that accompanies this depth is a byproduct of a reality that others cannot or will not inhabit. They are not alone because they choose to be lonely. They are alone because the few who can genuinely understand, relate, or resonate with their perspective are exceedingly rare. Yet, this isolation also has a paradoxical power. It cultivates self-reliance, sharpens intuition, and allows them to grow beyond the limitations of collective thought. In solitude, they are free to explore ideas without compromise, to think without interruption, and to experience life in its most raw and unfiltered form. They become architects of their own inner universe, forging clarity and strength from the very depth that sets them apart. While misunderstood by many, they gain a rare insight into the human experience that others cannot access, a profound understanding of both the light and the shadow of humanity. Ultimately, smart people stay alone not because they reject connection, but because connection in its truest form is rare. Their depth demands alignment, authenticity, and understanding, qualities that cannot be faked, forced, or mass-produced. In embracing solitude, they preserve their intellect, their insight, and their emotional integrity, knowing that the richness of their inner world is a sanctuary more valuable than the fleeting comfort of superficial company. Smart people confront reality in a way that most shy away from. They do not settle for comforting illusions or convenient lies. They observe the world with clarity, analyzing motives, patterns, and consequences with precision. This fearless embrace of reality allows them to see things as they are, rather than how they wish them to be. But this clarity is isolating. The majority of people operate within layers of denial, self-deception, or selective perception, while intelligent minds see through the veneer of social niceties and cultural norms. This unflinching awareness makes casual companionship difficult because very few can tolerate or comprehend the truths they carry, They recognize human behavior for what it truly is, a mixture of self-interest, envy, fear, and desire. Loyalty is fragile, trust is conditional, and intentions are often hidden beneath a mask of politeness. They do not ignore these realities, they accept them fully. This understanding does not breed cynicism, but sharpens their discernment. They know when to engage, when to withdraw, and when to protect themselves from emotional or psychological harm. They are selective in connection because every interaction has consequences, and only those who resonate on a similar wavelength are worth the investment of time, energy, and emotion. This conscious engagement with reality also informs their solitude. Intelligent people are willing to endure loneliness rather than compromise their integrity or mental clarity. They accept that genuine understanding, authentic connection, and meaningful interaction are rare commodities. Many social bonds are transactional, fleeting, or superficial, and they choose to conserve themselves for relationships that have substance. Their aloneness is not empty, it is intentional, a space where thought, reflection, and insight flourish. In solitude, they are free to observe, analyze, and grow without interference from misunderstanding, distraction, or manipulation. Furthermore, this fearless embrace of reality allows them to cultivate resilience. They do not rely on illusions for comfort, and they do not depend on external validation for self-worth. They understand the unpredictability of human behavior, the inevitability of disappointment, and the impermanence of relationships. By confronting these truths head-on, they build a mental and emotional strength that others rarely achieve. Solitude becomes a tool for growth rather than a burden, a crucible where insight is refined and clarity is sharpened. In the end, smart people stay alone because they refuse to compromise on truth. They walk a path that few dare to tread, seeing the world in its full complexity, embracing its shadows, and navigating its challenges with precision. Solitude is their sanctuary, a place where reality can be faced without dilution, distraction, or compromise. Their loneliness is not a weakness, it is a sign of courage, wisdom, and the disciplined preservation of their mind. In a society built on illusions, their clarity is their greatest strength, and their aloneness their most profound asset. So, the next time you see someone brilliant walking alone, do not pity them. Understand that their solitude is not a weakness, it is a sanctuary. They are the observers of reality, the architects of thought, and the ones who see beyond the illusions that blind the world. And in their silence, they wield a quiet power far greater than the chatter of the crowd.